They say if you truly want to hurt someone, go after their tax returns. After all, it brought down Al Capone, so why couldn't it bring down Uber? Hey everyone, this is Kevin the Apptrepreneur, and taxes. I mean, it's tax season. We're all talking about them. You've probably got your 1099s out there. There's plenty of videos out there to help you with your deductions and everything. I'm not I mean, it's funny because I do my taxes and I write off a lot of things, but I don't feel comfortable enough to be giving you sane tax advice. So I always recommend going to other people's channels to find out videos on taxes for Uber. The most common things though, write off your miles, write off your water, you know, basic things like that, you should be fine. But taxes is a very big thing, and, you know, it kind of keeps our country growing. Nobody really likes them, but we all admit it's a necessary evil. And it's also one of those things where it's like, if you screw around with your taxes too much, you could get in some serious legal trouble. And that is what a lawyer is actually anticipating. So according to this article, lawyer who won a Brexit case targets Uber over $260 million a year in taxes. This is going to be a fun one. The lawyer who spearheaded a landmark court case which ended with the European Union's top court ruling that the UK can unilaterally reverse Brexit appeared in court Wednesday for a fresh battle, this time with Uber Technologies, Inc. Jolyon Magam, I think that's how you pronounce it, who runs a group that raises money for lawsuits that promote a progressive agenda, says Uber should pay value-added tax, a 20% UK sales tax on most goods and services. Uber says it doesn't need to because it's only acting as an intermediary between drivers and riders, aka, well, cheap, we've got no money. Listen to that piggy bank. There's nothing in there. That's basically what I hear when they say we don't need to pay taxes. It's like, Uber would owe £1 billion, which is roughly $1.3 billion in American money, if Magam won his case once backdated payments are counted, Magam said outside court, citing his own calculations. His lawyer, Vikram Sachdeva, said that the court hearing that the case could leave Uber liable for an estimated annual tax bill of £200 million. The case centers on an Uber journey Magam took in March 2017, which cost £6.34. He wants a court declaration that Uber should give him a VAT invoice for £1.01 for the journey. The invoice would allow him to reclaim the sales tax as the trip was for business purposes. The sum at issue is obviously trivial, Magam said in court filings, but the underlying case is of great public importance because of the amount of tax that would ultimately be payable if he wins. So basically, this is, by the way, how most laws get written. I learned this in college, by the way. One of the few things I learned about college. I was taking a computer science course, and the professor at one point said, and I forgot exactly what spurred it. I think we were reading a book and someone said, well, why is that illegal? I found it interesting that it was illegal because this thing happened with a politician. And he said, oh yes, absolutely. Here's the thing. Most of the laws in the world are written because a politician or a lawyer was caught doing something they weren't supposed to be doing. Or in some cases, they felt they should get something and they didn't, and so they threw their weight around and created a law. That seems to be a little what this thing is. This guy wanted a receipt so that he could write off a small amount of money for his business, and they didn't have one for him because they don't charge that. And not only did he feel a little slighted about that, but as a lawyer who deals with this quite frequently, he's thinking about all the money. Like, if I did how many trips, that would add up a lot just for me. And so when you factor everyone into the equation, then the UK is kind of losing out on a lot of money here. So that's why he's going after them. The case will turn on the question whether Uber should be classed as a supplier of cab rides or whether its drivers should be. It's a question at the heart of the so-called gig economy where technology companies have upended traditional employment models. Anyone who gets an Uber is affected by this case, Sachdeva said in court on Wednesday. Now, black cabs. Magam's lawsuit is largely crowdfunded by the black cab industry, who have a significant commercial interest in seeking to alter the competitiveness of Uber services, the ride-hailing firm said in the court. And this is something that a lot of people are going to point out. Well, easy, it's the cab companies. They don't want the advantage. And it's like, but you know what? Here's the thing. There are certain things that, yeah, it is an unfair advantage. Like, I know people are not going to want to hear this. I mean, they always hate it when I turn on Amazon, but there's a reason the Amazon tax actually became a thing. I do remember the days where you did not pay tax on Amazon. And some people say, well, who cares? Because the law said, like, you know, you had to sell it at this state. The way the tax laws worked, as far as I was aware with Amazon, is like, as long as, if you paid for the item from where, for where it was shipped, you paid a tax. But if you were buying it out of state and they were not dealing with it in that state, then, well, you didn't pay a tax. Amazon took great advantage of that because, first of all, they only had like a few... They had like, you know, shipping warehouses out there, but wherever you bought your item, it was rare to come from the state you were in. They'd always ship it from out of state so that you didn't pay a tax. And of course, people loved it, and that's one of the reasons people went to Amazon. Oh, free shipping, no tax, why wouldn't I? But other retailers rightfully said that, hey, that's not fair. Because if they don't have to pay a tax, why do we have to pay a tax? And that's when the government, after many months and maybe even years of deliberating and debating, now everyone has to pay a tax online, regardless where it was bought from. In fact, I would even argue that probably made Amazon better, because that means that Amazon got more aggressive with building more warehouses, and thus, as a result, they shipped it from the closest warehouse to you. Now, I still feel bad for the warehouse workers, but, you know, I think that it's, yeah, if one company is paying, you have to pay tax, the other company you're not paying tax. That is an unfair advantage. So I don't blame the cab industry for being upset at that. Sachdeva said Magam is motivated by good governance and wants people who ought to pay their VAT to pay it. Magam is expressly saying he's not doing it for the purpose of the black cab industry. They're still supporting it though. An Uber spokesperson didn't immediately comment. Of course they don't. Magam is one of the most outspoken voices against the UK's looming exit from the European Union. In 2016, he ran a crowdfunding campaign for a legal challenge over Prime Minister Theresa May's plan to start the formal process for Brexit, an Article 50 notice, without first holding a vote in Parliament. That campaign became the People's Challenge, one of the groups supporting Gina Miller, in a case that went all the way to the Supreme Court and won. Uber says Magam's latest case has no merit and there's no need for this claim to be brought, although there clearly is if you're not paying your taxes. Uber argues that HM Revenue and Customs, the UK tax authority, and the appropriate agency to decide on its tax payments, not Magam. At a hearing Wednesday, Magam applied for an order that if he ends up losing the case, the most he'll have to pay Uber is £20,000 in legal fees. Magam's resources pale in comparison to Uber, and he won't be able to continue with the case if he doesn't get the limit, he said in the filings. Uber says Magam could continue the lawsuit without the cost order because he could raise more money from black cab drivers. Gotta love this company. The ride-hailing giant is also embroiled in a separate British court battle over the employment rights of its drivers. It's taken an appeal to the country's top court over whether drivers are entitled to the minimum wage and holiday pay. The case is Jalan Toby Dennis Magam versus Uber London Limited, High Court of Justice, in case number HC-2017-001496. So for those of you who want to follow it, there you go. So anyway, I actually agree with this guy. I agree with him. Now I'm not going to get into the whole Brexit thing. That's that's a little above what I'm able to articulate. But I agree. People should pay their taxes, and they should pay them frequently. And they, you know, Uber should not have this tax advantage that. Okay, sorry, the plumbing's going off, so sorry about that, folks. But Uber should not have that tax advantage. If the taxi drivers have to pay them, if car owners have to pay them, if everyone has to pay them, why not Uber? And what's going to be interesting about this in the long run is Uber is getting slammed in the UK. They are getting absolutely slammed. They are losing court case after court case that says that their drivers are employees, and Uber keeps trying to argue that they're not. And now they're getting slammed with this that, hey, they have to start paying taxes. Now, does that mean Uber's going to get out of London or the UK or, you know, any of that? No, that does not mean that. What it means is that Uber, in the long run, might be running business very, very differently in the UK. And what's going to be fascinating about that is if they have to treat their drivers like employees, and if they have to pay their taxes, and if they are successful even doing so, I think you're going to see a bigger push for the same thing to happen here in America, over New Zealand, over in Australia. Pretty much anywhere Uber is, they're going to be challenged because UK is kicking their butt and they're taking their name down. So this is very, very fascinating to read. But we're going to end it right there. Technical difficulties of the video aside, what did you think of all of this? Do you agree with him? Do you disagree? Do you live in the UK? What are your thoughts? I'd love to know. So comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe. If you enjoy my videos, consider becoming a Patreon member. It's totally optional, of course, but even if it's $1 a month goes a long way to helping the channel run smoothly, and you get access to my Patrons only blog. And as always, flame responsibly. Have a good one.